Drew Brees breaks Peyton Manning's 539 career passing touchdowns record as the Saints crush the Colts 34-7 in the Dome. Brees passed for 4 touchdowns and 307 yards. He broke the single-game passing percentage record. He went 29 of 30 last night through the air.
And that is unbelievable. But I do kind of feel Brees on the quote where he's talking about how the one that's going to stick with him is the one that he missed, because how numerically satisfying would 30 of 30 been, and it would have been another NFL record for most completions in a row. So, I mean, on a night where everything was...
I mean, you could have named Drew Brees as 30 for 30. 30 for 30.
No, damn it, no!
Right?
99.9% of the night went perfectly. That 1.01, the only thing.
His 30 for 30 documentary documenting the night that 2 NFL long-standing records crashed. I guess a long-standing River set the record in 2018 , so...
Hey, man, look, let's not get lost in
the
here.
build-up.
2 NFL records are
guy.
still set up, okay? What if I told
30.
you?
Yes, there you go. So Brees, 4 touchdowns. Saints are also 11-3, still in position to get the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs.
Just need the Packers to lose. Joe Tess was confirming everything that we've been talking about on this show. That is the main domino that the Saints need to fall, because they will have a head-to-head tiebreaker over the Seahawks.
Trip to Tennessee on deck for New Orleans. So back-to-back AFC
A little sketchy.
opponents.
A little sketchy.
A little weird. Don't like Derrick Henry in the cold outside.
Yeah, and Tannehill. I know last week, the Titans maybe didn't look the strongest, but outside of that, they've been really good since Tannehill took over. So a little sketchy, but this is a Saints team that looked like, I mean, they came out angry. They just looked like they have not, like, they're still upset about what happened against the 49ers. And Drew Brees was as locked in as I've ever seen him, Jordy. He was, whenever Brees gets into that mode, I always call it Matrix mode, or like Neo mode, and it's from the end of the first Matrix movie when Neo finally sees the Matrix for what it is. When Drew Brees looks at a defense, I feel like that's what he sees. He sees like how every interconnecting part works together and affects each other. Like, okay, this guy flips his hips that way, then I know I'm going here. And when he's locked in like he was last night, and I think Booger even talked about this, like there's just, I don't know that there's anything that you can do.
Yeah.
And unless you think this is just him overwhelming you with natural ability, I think that when you look at what he did last night, and then you go watch the Reggie Bush video, where Reggie Bush is there on a Sunday, and he's filming the indoor practice facility, and it's 40 minutes after practice is done, and there's not a single person on the field, save for Drew Brees, who is sitting there going through mental reps on his own. You wonder why he does the things like he did Monday night. It's because of that work ethic that Drew Brees embodies.
Reggie Bush was there last night as they honored the Super Bowl winning team from 2009. You can't play the audio from your side.
Well, I can. I just don't know what audio you're looking at.
The Reggie Bush.
You just got
where he is. He's inside of the facility and he's looking at Brees going through the mental reps. We'll get you that audio because it is fantastic.
Okay.
I thought a few things last night were kind of narratively appropriate. I thought the refs spoiling the initial moment because of course they did. Like that was what was that offensive pass interference call? I don't want to belabor the point, but like it was perfect. Of course the refs did, and of course it did not matter. Drew Brees came right back, crushed them under his relentless onslaught. And it made me think, man, I also saw that Josh Hill catching the record breaker was very narratively appropriate.
Saints.
When you look at like Drew Brees. That is peak Drew Brees is Josh Hill catching the all-time NFL touchdown to go into the lead. And all of this kind of came back where I was starting to get a little emotional because I'm looking at Drew Brees, and you could see moments in that game, Jordy, last night where you could tell that he was really willing himself to be present and willing himself to soak in the moment. And he's really looking around the crowd. And he's not quite tearing up, but you see the welling, right? It looks a little liquidy in his eyes. And then it was interesting because I wrote this down in the notes. I'm like, wow, it really looks like he is like trying to tell himself to be present and to catalog this and to like lock these memories in his brain. And sure enough, that's exactly what he talked about after the game when they asked about it. Was he's just trying to, he's at that point in his career, man, where he is just trying to kind of soak it all in and make sure that he appreciates it.
Here is Brees last night in the postgame, just reflecting on he and Peyton and the accomplishments.
Sean, I wouldn't be here without Sean. The time we've had together, the experiences we've had together, and from the very beginning, what he has built here as far as the foundation and the culture, and Mickey Loomis as well, two of the most integral parts of this whole organization and certainly the reason that I'm here. I'll be forever indebted to those guys. I love those guys.
And just a few years ago, I was saying that, well, this year is a referendum on Sean Payton and his time in New Orleans. And
I think it was 4 years ago. I was saying to deal Brees and get as much for him as you could.
Yep. So we all have bad takes.
Value trade.
At one time or another. And I'm glad to see these guys kind of prove that although you can get hit with some adversity, you can work through it in the end.
Here's Sean Payton talking about last night.
Every game is that way, honestly. So sure, there's a record out there, and it's a little bit of a fluid record, right? And there's just so much preparation that goes in now. I mean, for him to finish the way he did on the evening, we thought we would have some vertical throws with some of the seams, and we did. But yeah, he was outstanding tonight.
Yeah, that vertical throw set up Booger with another all-time not safe for work casting moment. That's 2 weeks in a row.
What's our boy doing?
2 weeks in a row.
We got to ask him tomorrow.
Is it intentional?
I mean, 2 weeks in a row with some subtle
Last night looked a little. I mean,
jokes.
There's no way that you draw that and not think out loud.
So the only reason I would say that I've maybe given the benefit of the doubt is you're locked in, and that is literally what happened, right? In terms of the two linebackers and keeping them shallow and opening up the middle of the field.
You have seen a telestrator before. They tell you beforehand, look, don't draw anything that looks like this because it's going to come across and look like that.
I know. I'm saying what, but I feel like I could see myself stumbling into it. Where
I could definitely see you.
As soon as I
see you doing something like that.
Well, but I'm not an experienced telestrator, but I could see myself stumbling into it, and then as soon as you finish that last circle, you're like, oh God, what have I done? I did not see the big picture here. I was a little too I my analysis. But, yeah, shout out to Bug.
He ran the crosser right under the scrotum.
No, I think that so when I saw Brees get emotional last night, this may be a little melodramatic, but I found myself just thinking how thankful I am that I'm live at a time when Drew Brees is playing quarterback.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's amazing, and it's been highlighted by Burrow this season almost, that what we've witnessed with Brees and Peyton for 14 years. I mean, you almost took it for granted.
It's been my entire adult life. The Saints have been a dominant offense, and it's always been just Drew Brees, just right there.
See him last night, and you mentioned this quote, and I don't want to bring up the negative on it, but just to give you an idea of the competitor, T-Bob brought up the quote that he said after the game. He set a new mark last night. Brees also last night completed 22 consecutive passes that spanned 44 minutes of game time. And after the game, he was asked, he finished 29 of 30, which the completion percentage clocks out at 96.67%, which breaks Phillip Rivers' completion percentage record, which he set in 2018 versus the Cardinals, where he was 28 of 29, which was a 96.56% completion. Here's what Brees said after the game. Well, I'll be honest with you. You always think about the ones that you miss, right? If I just set my darn feet and throw it to the running back, it's 30 for 30. So that one may haunt me for a little while. But a lot of great catches out there, a lot of guys making plays. So that was a product of that. I asked T-Bob, because T-Bob read me that quote this morning, for somebody to think about a pass that he missed on a night where he was 29 of 30 and just shuffled it to the feet of Latavius Murray out in the backfield in a night where the Saints roll to a 34-7 regular season win. What do you think that slant pass to Mike Thomas did to him in the offseason that night in the slant pass he missed in the NFC Championship game? To see his reaction to missing that pass last night in a game where they steamroll through the Indianapolis Colts in a regular season game, the competitive guy he is.
Yeah.
What do you think that slant route did to him?
No, I mean, I think it tore him up for a while.
But
I
ever
think,
get over that in that position?
This is where I would say yes. Is that, and maybe not like in his darkest times when he's sitting there, he's thinking about things that just kind of annoy him or things he could have done better. But look at how he's responded this year. Look at how this team has responded this year. They're on the warpath. They bounced right back, and here they sit, and they are fighting for the 1 seed. And so, in my opinion, this is all, if you look at where he is now compared to where he was at that moment, this is a great testament to leadership and to overcoming and not allowing these things, like, because that could drive you crazy. That's the kind of play that if you allow it to germinate and to get too out of control in your brain, it starts to define you in a way. And Drew Brees said no. He said, it is what it is. I'm coming back next year, and we're going for a Super Bowl again, and he's doing it again. How about this? Will Clapp.
Yeah.
Last night played very well. But outside of that, like, take playing well out of it. I mentioned I'm happy to just be alive when Drew Brees is. My entire adult life, Drew Brees has just been great for the Saints. Will Clapp was probably, 7 when Brees took over? If he's 23, 24, 7, 8. Maybe 9. So here you have a New Orleans kid, born and raised.
He graduated high school in 2011.
So he's probably, so that makes him 18 then. Okay, wow, bad math. 13, about 12, 13 maybe when Brees takes it. Anyway, point being, his life, like when he was a little kid, he's watching this guy. All through college, he's watching this guy. He's from New Orleans, massive Saints fan. How cool then to be on the field with Drew Brees last night, starting and playing well in a game in the Superdome on Monday Night Football in which Drew Brees sets multiple records. I mean, is that the New Orleans football kid dream right there?
It's as cool as it gets.
Shout out to Will Clapp, man. It's a very cool human experience that only comes with just hours and hours and hours of hard work and sacrifice. But Clapper, I hope you enjoyed last night because that is fantastic.
Saints roll 34-7, moved to 11-3 on the season. Still an opportunity to move in that top spot of the NFC. They travel to Tennessee next game. They did have some other news yesterday, did the Saints. They claimed veteran cornerback Janoris Jenkins off of waivers.
I was kind of surprised that they were able to pull that off.
Yeah.
We'll see where that goes, but it certainly feels like a little pressure on Eli Apple, who he's our guy. He's our guy. Miss Annie's our girl. So I don't want to get into Eli Apple discussions, but he's been maybe struggling a little bit here recently.